You characterize the crude market as having an incredibly high geopolitical risk premium embedded in the price. And what does that mean for what companies might do in response? If they view it as just a geopolitical risk premium, are they going to produce with the assumption that these prices are going to stick around or not?
No, I don't think so. I think you or David said it earlier, the time needed, and I disagree with one of those earlier estimates, one of your other, I guess you had quoted, that if you wanted to produce today, one of my big CEOs said if they wanted to produce today, if they started tomorrow, maybe they could add an incremental 5% by the end of the year. The problem right now is personnel, drill pipe, drilling rigs, frac equipment, you name it across the board, it's already tight. Plus, just these companies are going to continue their capital discipline. So I see highly unlikely that many of these U.S. companies are going to respond to this.
So if they're going to maintain this capital discipline, but they're also having their cash flows inflated by the higher prices, doesn't that mean that are they just going to accelerate their pay down of debt and their buybacks, or incrementally is there more to go around and they can also fund further production?
Well, that's the thing. We wrote something just a day or two ago favoring 5 or 6 names that still have delevering to go because they can actually, I mean, you talked about Oxy a lot. If you run the strip at Oxy today, the company could potentially do $3 billion just in the first quarter in free cash flow if you run today's strip. That's obviously not what I'm running in our models. But whereas, call it 75% of the other companies I cover are already at about a 1x leverage. So to your point, they'll just end up paying out that much more. Either they'll buy back a quarter of their company or they'll just pay that much more out in dividends.
Yeah, I mean, we had that conversation last week with Darren Woods at Exxon, Mike Wirth at Chevron. I mean, that's the big question right now. What's the number going to be for 2022, and how much are these companies going to buy back? Are they going to, though, put more towards production as well, or is most of the excess going to simply go towards return of capital?
Well, David, you mentioned Darren Woods. It's interesting that Chevron, Exxon, Conoco all said we're going to try to grow the Permian at least 20%, really to make up for some parts of their other portfolio. Total, they're still not talking about a lot of growth overall for each of those companies, but those 3 really stood out. The rest of my companies, I mean, you've talked to Scott Sheffield, you've talked to all these others, at Pioneer and others, they'll be lucky to grow 5% for a number of reasons. And so, again, I just think if the guy wanted to turn it on tomorrow, it would be darn near impossible to do so. So I think that, thinking that you're going to get more than 1 million or 1.5 million barrels incremental from the U.S. this year, I think is absolutely wrong.